Greetings, programs. Your buddy Ingrid Bernal here, hankering for a nail, coming back at you on Runehammer. I'm on the YouTubes. I'm trapped here. There's no escape. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to jump on a quick video to let you know about the pre-sale of Crown and Skull Volume 2. Here you see the, of course, venerable and much lauded Volume 1 Gold Edition. All 5 volumes of Crown and Skull are going to be the same 2 variations. The gray library edition and the faux leather and gold foil gold edition. So all 5 volumes will be the same. They're actually the same in even more ways. They're exactly the same page count, all the same materials, and even the chapter structure is in the same in all 5 volumes. So volume 2 is complete. The pre-sale has gone up. When you order to sort of reserve your copies of the book, you will immediately get the digital bundle, which includes the PDF, a bunch of high-res maps for using on VTT, as well as the 2nd volume of the Crown and Skull music. I don't know if it's widely known, but I've been making full-on albums for each volume of Crown and Skull, and I'm going to keep doing that through all 5. I kind of set out on like a massive creative journey with Crown and Skull to commit to this kind of 5-year cycle to sort of just test myself, as well as just enjoy what's proving to be my stickiest and sort of deepest, it feels like most ever morphing and ever growing system that I've done. So I'm really proud of it. I think everybody knows that at this point. If you're watching this video, you probably know more about Crown and Skull than you want to think about. In volume 2, I may be a bit of a surprise, but some time has passed since the events of volume 1, and we get into the sort of subtitle, which is the Age of Dragons. I know that dragons are, they're part and parcel for our hobby, right? They're around so much it can get a little silly at times. But I tried to dispel that silliness, really take it seriously, and get into the kinds of dragon sort of lore that is really maybe specific to my particular taste in role-playing that hasn't been really that revealed over the last years here being on YouTube. And so I wanted to kind of dive into it a little more. This idea of a really strong sort of family, a family line or a family tree in dragonkind, that there aren't a lot of them. There are so few of them that they are all relatives. And that family tree can be traced by clever wizards and deep researchers, but their lives are so long and their reproduction is so rare that this data can be lost over centuries. I suppose Game of Thrones would have a little bit of this too, right? There are so few dragons. They're not only impressive assets to kingdoms, which is a little beyond me. I've never really had a dragon be like subservient to a person, but that they have a family line and that there's few enough. But it also, because they're so long lived, it takes some study to really know anything about them. So that's the foundation really of this book, but it doesn't become a sort of dragon lore book. I really wanted to get further and further, as is my journey in all my published work, to get further and further into usable, actionable, deployable material. And that usually comes in the form of dungeons. And dungeons is a huge generalization term, a kind of blanket term that we use for a sort of playable, engageable, somewhat contained location where players can go either at the behest of the GM or the storyline or on their own sort of accord, seeking something or wanting to resolve a part of a storyline. But once you're sort of in the dungeon, you're kind of participating in it and you're kind of contained there. So what this 2nd Crown and Skull book does is it joins these 2 things. It joins the lineage of dragonkind in the North Holds, which is the setting in Crown and Skull, and the idea that dungeons are kind of one of the most playable blobs of content that we can hope for in our role-playing books. So what it does is it pairs one dragon with one dungeon and combines them so that if you want to engage that particular dragon, then you go to that location. And if you want to engage that location, you'll have to deal with that particular dragon, right? So it can come from either side, but they're always paired. So there are 13 new dungeons in this book. And I believe it's 9 of them are the really big ones. And then there's sort of some smaller ones included as well. But the really big ones include extensive documentation about the map, how to run them with a mapless approach if you prefer that approach, how to do the encounters, and some encounters are rolled somewhat randomly, some are played in sequence, depending, and they're sort of wildly different, as I'm sure you expect from me at this point. All of these dungeon dragon pairings are really different, just like your whiskey and cheese pairing is very different than your, kielbasa and light beer pairing, right? They're very different flavors. And not all of these dragons are just instantaneous enemies. Some are going to be allies, some are a little difficult, some are obtuse and hard to figure out. The book also goes into the sort of the cosmology and the sort of physiology of these dragons. And then for you players out there, there's a whole new player focus section, which is going to be in every volume of Crown and Skull, that talks about the new skills, new abilities, dragon riding, dragon craft, which is making gear out of dragon parts. And then again, somewhat surprisingly, we have droids in this book. One of the big adventures in the book is called the Starfarer, and it is actually a buried spaceship that crashed long ago. And this is all, totally a thinly veiled tribute to Dave Arneson and to early D&D. That is where these new droid characters come from. And then also there's a new character type called awakens, and awakens are basically like a sort of a tribute to the Jedi kind of archetype, right? It's a spacefaring character type, but who is not like heavily into space type technology. It's much more this intuitive kind of persona. And so those are going to be in the book as well for you to make characters around that. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention is what I know maybe the most sought after thing in a lot of the books that I make, which are the tables. And this book is chock full. I believe it's over 40 pages of tables toward the back of the book, which get into all kinds of tools you can use as you deploy these dragon adventures, namely like dragon people, sort of the people that are near dragon environments, the sort of the minions or the worshippers or the haters or whatever, the avengers. And then you have dragon rumors, you have villages that are going to be encountered on these kind of dragon expeditions. And then all the usual stuff, right? Numerous treasure tables. One of them is harvestable bits from dragons, so that if you do get a kill on a dragon, which may be something you desire, then you can harvest that carcass, which is that's a hard word. I think it's a corpse. If you kill a dragon, it's not a carcass. It's a corpse. Yeah, because dragons are like, they got the stuff up here, you know what I'm saying? So there's a ton of tables in the back. There's more people to meet, villagers, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of Volume 2. It was a crazy journey creating it. A little quick props out to my man, Joe McGee, who helped me with some of the writing on this. He worked on 3 of the dungeons with me just to get some of those meat and potatoes writing tasks done. And we kind of worked on that. It's also great to work with someone, even in a limited capacity, because it teaches you that critical creative skill, which is, employing a confidant, like really believing in one person with your newest secrets, bouncing them off them and gauging that reaction and then quickly adjusting what you're doing. A critical part and a core skill of everything we do in this glorious hobby of ours. So anyways, the link is going to be down below here somewhere to go to the pre-sale page where you can learn a little bit more about the book, reserve your copy, and everything is on track right now for a delivery in the 3rd week of January. So I don't really do crowdfunding here on Runehammer, as everybody widely knows, but doing the pre-sale for the books helps me absorb some of that upfront production cost and make sure that we get speedy, on-time delivery right there in January, just like last year. So every year in January, you can expect another volume of Crown and Skull. We're going to go on this 5-volume journey together, and with them all looking the same, just with a different Roman numeral on the side. It's going to be a treasure for the old shelfie. And I hope it's a vastly more than that, and a highly deployable, hackable, and playable game for you and your players, or for you and your GM, whichever it may be. You guys, that's it for right now. I'm keeping these babies tight. Keep it real. Do not steal. You're always going to get a deal. Show buddy Hanker Inferno. I'll see you on the interweb, all right? I'm out.